Welcome to this interview and welcome to you, Mr. SKAARHOJ, the founder of the company SKAARHOJ.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask you some questions about the beginning of SKAARHOJ and the company, and I'm really excited about all this. So I asked you for about 3 years in the history of SKAARHOJ that was very meaningful to you. And the first year was the year that you founded SKAARHOJ, and that was in 2013. Could you tell me what happened during that year?
Yes, I can. It was a year where I was working as an e-learning consultant, and I had some issues with video production for e-learning, which I set out to solve myself since I was an engineer. And that led me to solutions involving electronics, which is like an old passion of mine. And when I had these solutions in place, I thought maybe I can use it in other contexts than for e-learning. Maybe what happened if I put it online, make a PayPal account so I could sell it and so on. And that essentially just led us to a garage company start of the company. So that's essentially how we got started in 2013.
Yeah, and you were not alone. You were working with two.
That's true. I had two great engineers with me. That was Björn and Georgie. And as a team, we functioned really well. Me being the innovator of the products, Björn being about having the business rolling and shipping and taking in orders and writing manuals. And Georgie was the production team who put together the products, tested them, and did the long night shifts to make sure that we delivered on time for the first customers we had.
Cool. And the name SKAARHOJ, why did you choose that?
Well, it's my last name, and honestly, it's a boring story, but I think I have previously chosen names for companies and projects where I felt like, oh, I'm just lousy at choosing names, so I'm just gonna go with my last name. I know it's boring, but at least it doesn't require an explanation until the day you come ask me. So, so it's really a lack of imagination on my part, and hopefully it's the only thing that I'm not imaginative about, because we need a lot of innovation for the products we do. And there I think you find a whole lot a different level of creativity in our product designs than in the naming of the company.
All right, but it's a Danish surname as far as I understand. Could you try to pronounce it in Danish?
I can. It's SKAARHOJ.
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 All right.
And it doesn't work super well for foreigners. So this is why it became SKAARHOJ when we brought it out internationally. And even that is a problem, because I see tendencies in, French people will do it in one way, and American people are always like SKAARHOJ, whatever is their inclination to choose for pronunciation. But most of the time when people are explained how it's pronounced, then it's okay with them. Mm-hmm.
You told me a little bit about the first office space you had, something with a lot of things in a small, tiny place. Could you explain what your first office place looked like?
The very first one was in my living room, where I had like 2 cubic meters in the corner. So I say cubic meters because it was like shelves from, all the way to the ceiling. But the first office space we had along with each other as a team was 12 square meters, and that translates into 36 cubic meters, where we had like shelves from floor to ceiling with cardboard boxes, and even we had like a bridge across so that we could store a lot of stuff under the ceiling and while moving around on the floor to do all the production of things and so on. So it was super tiny, and obviously for a project that started in a garage, you are conscious about your expense level, so it was a big step to actually rent this office outside of our homes.
Awesome. All right, the next year you mentioned was 2018. So what happened after this exciting startup period?
Yeah. If you look at our growth, it's like a hockey stick. So for many, many years, since 2013 and all the way to 2018, it was just like very slowly, and none of us were doing this full time. It was essentially a garage project, like something we did for fun, and it was slowly growing. Big steps was going to a trade show during these years and having the office and moving to a little larger office and so on. In 2018, we had some level of success, but we also fell into a situation where suddenly one of our most popular products was challenged by another offering on the market. And it led to a crisis where it was clear that we didn't really know what to do in this situation. None of us are business people. We are visionaries and we are producers of things and so on. So it was like discouraging, really. But I met our current chairman of board, Tau Steffensen, at that point, and he was the perfect guy to meet in this situation because he had a lot of experience in running companies, structuring companies, setting out strategies, and in a situation like that, he gave a lot of courage into a difficult situation that we could move on and we could make this work and get through this crisis. And after that time and restructuring the company to a more professional setup business-wise, we experienced growth again. And in a sense, I want to say the rest is history, because that was the turning point where we went, you can say we went from the amateur garage project onto a truly professional course for how the company is run and structured. Yeah.
And how did you experience that? Was that like exciting, or was it hard to make that change in mindset?
I was relieved because someone else came with solutions to things that I knew needed solutions. I also knew I didn't have the answers myself, and unfortunately I also didn't feel super excited about finding those answers. It just didn't feel like what I was created to do. So it was like the complementary input, what I needed, because I'm a creative guy. I'm an engineer. I'm visionary, but I'm not into paperwork and so on, if you want to phrase it in that way. So that was a big relief to have someone to lean onto and follow someone else's advice on a number of things where I didn't know what to do.
All right. So during that time, you also traveled a lot to these events showing SKAARHOJ products and all of that. You told me you love traveling. What is it about those travels that work so well with you and the company?
I think it gives you an opportunity to meet not only your customers, but also partners. Because in a company like ours, we are like, you have SKAARHOJ here, and then you have other companies making products, manufacturers of broadcast equipment, cameras and video switch and all the gear that we are controlling. Those are often partners for us. So we know someone or a group of people in the company, and with them we create solutions where our products are enhancing their products, and that creates a solution to the third entity here, which is the customer. And when you go to a trade show, on the one side, you meet customers that you know by email and name from taking in orders or requests, but you also meet kind of your friends and your colleagues from other companies. So it feels like, you know, going on a school camp in a sense. And the charm about a trade show that you do not see if you're just going to it is how the whole build-up phase is sort of full of excitement. Coming to a place where everything is a big mess and they are building up booths, and then on the final day they roll out the carpet just a few hours before the show starts, and suddenly it's just transformed into a very nice exhibition space. And then for 4 days everybody is, you know, dressed nicely, and we have fun, go to dinners, and we explain and show people our products, and then we tear it down again. So it's really intense, but it's also really rewarding because the intensity, of course, gives you a good experience, and hopefully you come home and are full of energy. So for me, traveling is often going to trade shows. That's very often the reason why I go, and it has all these aspects to it that is balancing out the everyday life at home, which is about product development and you know, doing the long hauls through difficult challenges, which are in themselves also rewarding, but in different ways, of course. So it's balance in your life.
Mm-hmm. So the third year you mentioned, that was 2020. Was that the year when you realized that, wow, this is gonna really fly, this is gonna take off, or what happened in 2020?
2020 was remarkable in the sense that it was the year where we we turned over so many products, and we had a really, really successful year. And in a sense, you can say that every year we ever had a better result than the year before. So we never had a year that didn't break the record of the previous year. But 2020 was remarkable in that it was also clear how the company was really growing. It's true for both 2019 and 2020. And but it was just acceleration. So it's like these 2 years, and especially 2020, was hard because there was so much happening, not only because of the coronavirus and what it did to the world economy and the company, but it turned out to be a good thing for us. But it just made us even more busy in a situation where we were already busy because we had growth before that, but now we had even more. And in that sense, it was a year of just craze, to describe it, but also thankfulness, because it has been really hard. It is an 8-year-long story to get to this point with a lot of struggle, and it was never easy making money for us. And I won't say that it's easy today. It really requires diligent management, and I'm very respectful to that. But I'm also super thankful that we now find ourselves in a situation where we have seen that this is possible and we believe it. So you can say in that sense, 2020 is like a turning point, going from like, hey, we actually have a real company here. And for me, that's a mental shift that people may not see, but that's because most people have actually been employed during this phase. So that's 2020 is just this crazy turning point year where we kind of grew into some kind of adulthood as a company.
So Kasper, what are you currently really excited about?
I am excited about the development we are currently undertaking. And in the history of a company, and especially where we are or have been for the growth of the company, there are periods where you go into development of totally new things. And then there'll be periods after that where you don't have the resources to develop new things. You actually need to mature the existing things. And that going forth and back, I feel right now we are coming out of a period where we have matured our existing platform and we see how well it's performing. But now it is time to work on new exciting development. And I see that what we are doing right now is going to be the foundation for the next 5 to 10 years on the existing product range that we are having. And that's so exciting because I know how much it's going to unlock. Examples would be, when someone comes to us and say, hey, would you like to support this or that? Most of the time I would be like, yes, that's amazing. And I want to include that. Of course I want to do it. But for a while I've also been a little bit discouraged because I'm like, I don't know how I can do it because I miss the power. What we're doing right now is we're creating the powerful system or the basis, the architecture that will allow us to say yes so many more times. And I'm really that yes man when it comes to these things. I love saying yes to these things. And now I'm finally able to do it when we have some of these new technologies in place. So that makes me, an engineer and designer, very excited, of course.
It sounds like really great innovation. So I guess looking into the future, this is also what you see, or what do you see in the future if you look 5-10 years ahead?
We want to invent the future of live production control. That's our vision in SKAARHOJ. And that's what I see we are doing. We have our existing product catalog, and that's really strong value proposition. We know every day we get confirmation that what we have and what we do is useful to people out there. So I think we have a perfect spot in this industry. But we want to go beyond that. We want to do many more things. So of course I can't share details, and many of these details are not even in my mind yet. But I'm excited about seeing how we have such a strong team for development and innovation in the company, and also a vision and desire and ambition to be defining for how live production control is done in the future. So that's our vision, and it's got to mean a lot of really cool control-related products in the future.
Awesome. So I just went by your office space, and there is still a lot of stuff in there. I think that just reminds me of maybe your first office space. You really thrive in places with a lot of stuff, right? Or
yeah, I guess I do. It's my little cave, in the back behind all the boxes and so on. And I kind of like it that way, that it's a little bit messy but still systematic in my way. And it's my space. It's essentially like a storage room, so it's not the typical CEO office, but I like it that way. I'm not very hung up on, you know, big facade and so on. So I like having it like that. It's fine for me, and I hope that it's also fine for other people that I do it like that. But it's very much me having such a humble little office space for me, because it's all about the product and the ideas and not so much about the bells and whistles around it.